Muy buenas tardes y muchas gracias por venir. Hoy tenemos un poco más de reto en este evento porque lo vamos a hacer en inglés. Rainer Zitelmann es nuestro invitado, que luego explicaré un poco en inglés para que él nos entienda lo que ha hecho, y es una personalidad interesantísima que ha escrito muchísimos libros y me parecía que era muy importante poder estar con él, y para poder hacerlo pues tenemos que recorrer este medio camino en el idioma. Él se acerca a nosotros al inglés y nosotros a él porque él es alemán, pero yo creo que se va a entender. Es importante que se escuche bien. Yo creo que si alguien no escucha bien que lo diga, y bueno, luego cuando acabemos, como siempre, tendremos un cóctel arriba. Rainer, switching to English, welcome, and it's been a pleasure for us to have you here. I was telling about you that you are a very special personality, because you are a very productive writer. You have written a lot of books, but also you are an entrepreneur. You did very well creating your own company, which you sold. You do many things, and well, it's a pleasure for us to have you here. You have written many books, and today we are going to focus in the last one, published in Spanish, that is Libertad financiera in Spanish, that is financial freedom in English. And for me, it's very interesting having you here, because I want you to be more with us, because you have to go through many of the other books that you have written, and part of the books that you have already done but are not still translated into Spanish. So I hope this is going to be your first time here of many.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
And as a first question, in this auditorium, we always ask somebody who has written a book the same question, is why, in this case, why a person like you is willing to write so many books about the concept of wealth in general?
Yes, there are two reasons. First of all, there are a lot of books how to become rich. I think you find hundreds of these books. But a lot of these books are written by people who are not self-made rich themselves. Some of them are even not rich. And I think if you know anything about it and you write these books and you're so smart, why are you not rich? So I became rich as a self-made entrepreneur and investor. I had nothing, I inherited nothing. It's all self-made. And the next thing is, the next difference between this book and other big books, I looked for a lot of books about, like scientific research about this topic, but I found nothing. And I wrote I have two PhDs, one in history and the other in sociology. And my second doctoral dissertation was about the wealth elite, based on interviews with 45 super rich people. And so I think this is the difference between this book and other books. I think it's simple to understand. Everyone who can understand newspaper here can understand the book, but it's based not only on opinion, it's based on scientific research and it's based on own experience. And so I'm very happy. It's very successful in Germany since a lot of years, and also very, very successful in China. People there are very crazy with this idea to become rich in China. I had a lot of lectures there. I remember one time, it was in Shenzhen, and they invited me in a university. This was not a big university, only with 1,000 students, but it was Friday late evening at 8 p.m., and they invited me to talk about this book. And I think in Germany, I would be happy if maybe 10 people come or something. There were 850 people, almost everyone, and it was hours and hours because they were so fascinated by these ideas.
Okay, in this book, let's go to this book, Financial Freedom, or Libertad financiera. You talk about two themes that are how to create wealth and also how to preserve wealth. And the question is, what is more difficult? To create wealth or to preserve?
Most people think that it's more difficult to become rich than to stay rich. They think if I'm rich, nothing can happen, and the family office, they tell them, we do everything, and the investment funds and everything, everyone tells them. And people who are not rich, they think always, when I have 1 million or even 10 million or 20 million, this is the hardest thing, and then it's easy. But it's not, it's wrong. You see a lot of wealthy people who are not able to stay rich. In most cases, you can't read in the newspapers about them because you read more the success stories when someone became rich. But of course, if these are famous pop stars or soccer players, and then you hear a lot of them. The last example was from Germany. I think everyone knows here Boris Becker, the tennis star. He made something like 200 million, and he lost all. He lost all. So it doesn't matter how much, whether we have 1 million, 10, 20, 200, you can lose everything. And you know, he came in prison, and I saw an interview in German TV when he, 1 year, or no, not 1 year, it was only 2 or 3 weeks after he left prison, and he had an interview. And then he said one sentence that was very important. He said, I never cared about money all of my life. It was never important to me. And I would tell him, here, this is the reason why you lost it. Because imagine, for example, I would tell my girlfriend, oh, she was never really important to me. It's what would she do? She would leave, of course. And if I say the same to money, money leaves. Yes, if you don't like money, money don't like you.
In this book, you make a relationship between money and happiness, which is the classic and the one of the main paths that we try to look for or to use when we look for happiness. There is a sentence in your book about Gertrude Stein, which I think is quite good. She says that I've been rich and I've been poor. It's better have been rich.
Yes, of course. I know. I don't know whether we have this saying in Spanish, but I think similar. We have it in a lot of language, like money alone doesn't make you happy. Of course, it's true. And I never found someone who said money alone makes me happy. I never saw that. But it's also true for health, for example. Does make health alone you happy? No. Is health not important for this reason? Or the same with, you can say, sex alone doesn't make me happy. So, okay, let's forget about sex. It doesn't make me happy alone. I never heard something saying things like this. It's only about money. Yes, and of course, it's true. But on the other hand, it's also true that money is important. And I don't know whether someone... Have you seen this movie with Will Smith, The Pursuit of Happiness? So it's one of my favorite movies. Has anyone here who's seen this movie? It's a great movie. I can recommend. I saw a lot of people saw it. I can recommend. And you see how important really money is for him, especially if it's not enough money. It becomes more and more important if you don't have enough of it. And you know, for me, of course, the question is, for what do you need money? If your motive is to buy a expensive watch or great car. So for me, this was not the most important motive. For me, the most important motive was freedom, to be free. You know, I decide today whether I work, where I work, with whom I work, what I work, whether I work at all. I prefer, for example, to make a nap every day. I can do it, so it's all, no one else. And this means freedom for me. And if you then don't ask, does money make you happy? But if you ask, does freedom make you happy? I think almost everyone would agree. Of course, freedom makes me happy. And so for me, is money only one tool. It's not the only tool, but an important tool for being free.
In Abante, in this company that we created 22 years ago, our main theme since the beginning is to work with our clients in the relationship with money. The relationship, money and happiness and And being rich is a relationship. You can have money, you may have money, but may not be complete. In this approach, what we have found is that money is always a concern. This is something that you tell in your book. When there is not enough money, is a concern. When there are a lot of money, also is a different concern, but also is a concern.
Yes, it depends. If you have a lot of money and you spend a lot of money, then there's not so much changing in your life, because if you have always the fear, what happens if I lose this, if I have not this income? But if you have a lot of money and then you have maybe a moderate living style, I don't mean like living like poor or so, but for example, I have here, I think, a good watch, but it's the same since 15 years. I have also a Bentley, but it's the same as 15 years. It's not so important for me. There are some things I spend a lot of money, but of course, if you're so extreme, like these people to show off, like sometimes with some Russian people or some Asian people, you want to show everyone what I have and spending so much. This means, of course, then money is also too important, and then you are in a similar situation as someone who's poor.
There is in your book you mention a colleague that is an American, two of them that wrote a book many years ago that was the title was Millionaire Next Door. These two people, they were Thomas Stanley and William Danko. And you mentioned another book that I think is interesting to go a bit deeper, in which they write about that thing of, and the title of the book is Stop Acting Rich, that in Spain should be translated as something like Deja de hacerte el rico. The meaning is stop trying to appear as a rich, no?
Yes, this
and I think is related with what you were talking, because sometimes you try to catch up, but you never get to the position, because you are always living a bit ahead of what you can. No?
And so I saw a funny picture only some days ago. It was funny. There were two people. One wearing always like brands and something shoes and so, and the headline was "Poor Man." And then there was another one, dressed like I'm today, and this was "Rich Man." You know what I mean. Sometimes, of course, there are also rich people who dress better than me. But this is some people who really want to show everything. I have to show here my car and this car and this car and this car. But people who are really wealthy, they don't have to show to everyone. They know that they are rich, and other people maybe also know, but they don't have to show off in this way.
So this attitude is very important. So this further on this idea, you in your book you talk also. You have written other books explaining that there is different inequality in the size on the amount of money. And we call millionaire someone with 1 million. We call millionaire someone with 30 million, and we call millionaire also someone with some 100 millions. And you make a difference between those situations. In your book, yes. The wealth elite, you explain that very well. No?
So we had it's a long time ago that 1 million euros was a lot of money. Maybe it was 30 or 40 years ago when you spoke about, I want to be a millionaire. But what is 1 million today? Even if you are able with safe investments like like bonds or something like this, to have maybe 3% after inflation, after taxes. Even this is very challenging. But even maybe you have 3% after taxes, and so then it means you have every month you have then in a year 30,000, and every month 2,500 euros. I think this is not how wealthy people want to live with 2,500 euros a month. So my limit for my doctoral dissertation was, the lowest was 10 million, but there were only few people. Most of them had between 30 million and 1 billion. And so I wouldn't call someone really rich who has 1 million euros. A lot of people, they think it's a lot of money, but in reality, of course, there's not a single definition of what is rich, what is super rich. But for my doctoral dissertation, it was this: at least he should have 10 million.
Well, you say also in your book that there are different meanings of being rich. No? Having enough money for your retirement could be a way of being rich, and you don't need maybe that much. No? There are many ways of.
Yes, it depends how long you want to live. Yeah. Of course.
Well,
and my I think
as much as possible, but
yes, but if you make. I know some people, they make a calculation when they are 60 about like average 80 years, and I think then they have programmed their subconscious minds that they shouldn't live too long, because if they live longer than 80, all this calculation is wrong. And my grandmother, she was 106 years old, and my great-grandmother, she was 97 years old. My mother still lives with 91, and so I hope to be 100. I don't know, and so it depends how long you want to live. Of course, if you are 60 and you die with 65, and then you have 1 million, everything's good, no problem.
Okay, let's go to the how to get rich, to the part in which you establish your 7 laws or financial success. But before talking us about those laws, you have a point about 3 things that normally people think are affect the situation of become rich, that are lack, education, and the investment in the stock market. For you, those typical explanations doesn't fit very well. No?
Yes, to explain what I mean, do we have one of my books here? Yes. Can you give me one? This in Spanish. But no, I think this was your I signed for you. No, I need another one that is not signed for him. Do we have one?
No, pero es el mismo.
But it belongs to someone, or? Yes. Okay, I need someone that belongs to no one. I need a new. You get another one. Okay, so my question now, who want to have this book now? Who want to have it? Who want to have this book? Who want to have it? Okay, this is like an experiment that did not work, and I can explain you why. It did not work.
Because it's Spain, no? Maybe.
But I will sit down after this, but I want to explain why it did not work. Sometimes experiments did not work. I do it very often, whether I speak to 50 people or 500, and I ask who want to have this book. And not everyone understands that you get it for free. Of course, then it would be too easy if I say, please come and get it for free. They don't know. And some people think, what does he want to say? So I don't understand it. Can I get it or not? And then some people think, yes, maybe I get it for free, but they are not sure, and they don't want to make a fool out of themselves, running here, and in the end they get no book or something like this. And in a lot of cases it happens, this was the exception, that it's not someone from the first row, but from the middle or even from the last row, that someone to take this book. And then it's because we speak about luck and coincidence. If it would be only about luck and coincidence, only I think you would have a chance to get the book, because this is fastest, and here it was close to this because you got the book. But in a lot of cases, it's there that even, I had one time that someone from the last row took the book. So what does it mean? It's important first to recognize whether there is an opportunity, to recognize. A lot of people, and I'm included, we are blind. We go to, and we don't recognize opportunities. This is what entrepreneurs do. They recognize there's an opportunity. But of course, it's not enough to recognize this. The next thing is to act, to do something. And so I don't believe in luck, because I never met someone who was lucky all over his life, had good and bad luck. In most cases, sometimes we have good luck, sometimes we have bad luck. On average, it evens each other out. And so, because this point is very important, please allow me to add one thing to show why it is so important. I'll tell you a story about a man. He was born 1930 in the United States. Plague, what was much bigger issue in 1930 than it is today. And he never met his father. His mother died when she was 31 years old. His brother died in front of his eyes when he was 6 years old. And then he became blind in the age of 7 years old. Who knows this man? We have heard about him. No? This is not Stevie Wonder? Pardon? Ray Charles. Stevie Wonder is also blind, but he was blind when he was born. But Ray Charles became blind with that. Ray Charles, according to the official list, the most successful male singer in history, very, very rich, earned hundreds of millions. I think today it would be billions. Rich, wealthy. But, you know, it is not about good or bad luck. I wrote another book about successful disabled people, and that I interviewed with one who was blind, and he was the first blind man to climb the Mount Everest, and this was not enough. He climbed the 7 summits, the 7 highest mountains, 7 continents, in spite of being blind. And I have a friend, he's born with no arms. He has no arms, but he's one of the most famous hornists in the world. He travels all over the world. So I don't believe in good. They had bad luck, being blind, being poor, and all these things. No arms, no. But this is not so important. I don't believe it. Of course, sometimes it plays a role. We have good or bad luck, but on average, I don't believe in it. This was the first misconception about how to become rich, being lucky.
And about education?
Yes, education. I had these interviews with 45 rich people. Some of them were very good at school and university, some of them very, very bad, some of them even never graduated from high school. And one of the richest I spoke with, he was not even able to read and write properly. He had some problems reading and writing, but he had almost 1 billion self-made. And I have a friend, his net worth is 5 billion. He became rich with milk and yogurt, and he has very low education. And another friend who has 3 billion, also very low education. So, of course, there are other people. So I have one friend, he's the founder of Capri-Sun. He has even PhD. So it's not really a problem or bad if you are educated and if you have a PhD. But it's really not important. The result was there's no relation between your education on the one hand and your later financial success on the other hand. There are other things that are much more important.
Going to your laws, that 7 laws that are characteristics, are things that you have found in people when you did your research, and I'm going to be through them, and I want you to explain to us. The first one that you say that setting great goals is for you one of the things that are characteristic of these successful people.
Yes, I just read the biography about Elon Musk. Has anyone read the biography about Elon Musk? It's amazing. I can recommend. It's so great. You know, when he was very young, he sold PayPal, his first company. He was sitting there around with other people, and one of his colleagues asked him, "And what is next, or what are you doing?" And I said, "I think I want to conquer Mars and make human to a multiplanetary species." Hey, you are nuts, you are crazy. But today he has the most successful rocket company in the world. His rocket, the Starship, is much better than was the Saturn V that brought people to the moon. And he earns a lot of money with this, and he has concrete plans to go to Mars. This is about big goals. Or another one, I don't know whether some of you have seen on Netflix the movie about Arnold Schwarzenegger. Has someone seen it? Arnold Schwarzenegger movie? I can strongly recommend about his life. This is someone who wrote down every year his goals. And, you know, he came from, his father was a policeman, a little bit difficult family from a small village in Austria. And when he was very young, he said, "I want to be the biggest bodybuilder in the world." And they laughed at him. His parents even said, "We have to go to the doctor with him, some of this crazy bodybuilding." But at this time, bodybuilding was only for very shady people who oil their muscles and but he went to the United States and became the most successful bodybuilder in the world. And after he reached this goal, he said, "I want to be a Hollywood superstar." Never forget it. Look at your body. No one wants to see. It's like Dustin Hoffman, not body like you and your accent. No one can understand you. Your accent was even much stronger than my accent today. And then your name, Arnold Schwarzenegger, no one can pronounce it. Forget it. You will never reach it. And his first movies were I think he got an award for the worst movie in this year. So it was not easy for him. But in the end, he, for example, with this movie Twins, only with this movie he earned $30 million. And so he was successful. He became one of the best paid movie stars in the world. And then he said he wanted to go to politics. And I think his aim would be to be president of the United States, but this is impossible for, you know, if you're not born in the United States, according to the Constitution, you can't get it. But he was 2 times governor of California, what was the 5th biggest economy in the world this time. So it's a great movie, and it starts the movie with the most important thing is to set yourself big goals. And he starts, I didn't know this story, the movie that the first man who climbed the Mount Everest, and when he was at the top, what he thought, they asked him, "What did you think when you were there?" He said, "I saw far away another mountain very difficult to go on, and I thought about how to go there." This was the first thing that he thought. So I think goals are very important. I said it on the first because I think what you reach in life, everything depends on how big are your goals. Everything. And it was also with me. You know, I was successful as an historian. I wrote books and so, but I had absolutely no money, zero, because I spent everything, and I had not any connection to money. And there was a time in my life where I had some problems, and then I walked around with a famous German politician, and he told me, "You should become really rich to earn some money, then you are free to express your opinion, even if you are a non-conformist like I am, it's easier." But it's convincing. I'll be rich. And then this was a decision, but I didn't know how. But the most important thing was to make the decision, and I mean a real decision. I started to read books, and I go to seminars, and then I was in one seminar. At this time I had a little bit, like 50,000, and then the leader of the seminar asked, please write down your goal, how much money you want to have. And he added something, please not too low, because it's very unlikely that you will get more later than you write down. So, okay, I wrote down 10 million, this was Deutschmarks at this time. So, and at this time, it was really, 10 million, you can't imagine, even if you have 50,000. And today, if I would have only 10 million, I would think, oh, something is wrong with me. I'm getting poor. So it's about, writing down your goals. I do it every New Year's Eve. You should do it the same way. Write down your goals every New Year's Eve, even your financial goals. A number, not I want to be happy, or I want to be healthy, or I want to grow rich. Your subconscious mind doesn't understand it. It's like if you order on Amazon, please send me something nice that makes fun for me. Okay, we don't know what to send you. It has to be concrete, like I want to have 10 million, for example, or 100 million, or whatever. So big goals, for me, the most important thing.
The second law, and I agree very much on that, and also I think talking to people, this is one thing that many people, I could say even most of the people, don't think they are good at this. That is sales talent. For you, having the capacity of being a good salesman is crucial to have success in general.
Absolutely. Sales is so important. Sometimes I ask people, are you good in sales? Then, no, I'm not, because I'm not the guy to talk somebody in something that he doesn't want. And anyway, I'm not so good in talking. I talk a lot today, but when I sold for my company, I talked not so much as today. I was more like you, only asking questions, because if you're talking, you don't learn anything. You learn if you ask questions. And when I sat there with a potential client, I didn't talk much at this, but I listened what he wants and all this. Then if I ask someone that I'm not good in sales, that's why I'm not so good. I'm not a good talker. I'm not a good speaker. But are you good in listening? Yes, I am. So this is much more important. There's some misunderstanding what is really important to be good in sales. Who is here in the sales business here in this room? Some. I don't know. Would you agree with me that it's more important to listen to what people want than to speak? What is your opinion? Yes, you think absolutely. It is this way. So but of course it's important to sell. This is also, I mentioned Arnold Schwarzenegger, and what he said, whatever you do, it's worth nothing if people don't know about it. Yes, whether it's in bodybuilding or whether it's in politics or people have to know. So this is why I'm sitting here. I wrote this book. They published the book. Some authors think, okay, I published the book. Everything is done. No. Then it has to start. People have to know about this book. You have to do something to sell it, and this is with everything. And yes, it's even, for example, I don't know who's married here in the room, but when you asked your later wife to marry, it was also some. I don't think that you did it, brushing your teeth in the morning. Hey, what do you think about marrying? So, oh yeah, good idea. I think most people wouldn't do it this way. They would think about before. How should I do it? And it is sales, the same.
The number 3 is be a non-conformist. Not.
Yes, absolutely. Be a non-conformist. You should enjoy swimming against the stream. I tell you, I mentioned this friend of mine with Theo Müller is his name. He became very wealthy with 5 billion with milk and with yogurt. And he has a funny story. He told me, imagine, his favorite animals are cows. Of course, cows, because he became rich with milk. And so his story is about cows. And he told me, imagine there's a path, and there's with 100 cows walking along this path. On the left hand, there's very lush and green field with a lot of grass, and on the right hand there's a field that is not as near as lush, only some grams of grass, and 99 out of this 100 cows, they go to the left side. And of course what happens, the grass is eaten very fast, and there's one cow goes to the right side, and this cow eats and eats, and that I'm the cow who go to the right side. Or I tell you another story. A friend of mine, his name is Jim Rogers. He's famous for commodities. He became very rich when he was young because he managed, together with George Soros, the quantum fund, and this fund made 4,500 percent at the same time when the S&P had 42%. And later he became famous because he traveled all around the world 3 years with his motorcycle. But when he was young, how he became rich, he told me this story. He was invited when he was very young to a famous dinner in Manhattan. And the other were bankers, investors, were very wealthy and older and rich. And he was the youngest. And one said to his neighbor, not very loud, but so loud that everyone could hear it, "How can someone be so stupid to buy locket chairs?" And everyone laughed because these locket chairs were plumped down and every day you could read bad news. Everyone laughed very loud. And he said, "I didn't feel good because I was the one who bought them." But 5 years later, he became very, very rich with his investment. And he said, lessons learned, the louder the people laugh at you, the better it is. And I did the same to buy real estate, residential real estate in Berlin. In the beginning of the 2000s, the Deutsche Bank, they didn't want to finance it. This is a crazy idea. Please think twice about it. And everyone told me from so-called experts why it's a bad idea. But I had the idea, I had my analysis why I believed in it. And 10 years later, I bought every property for at least 4 times more than I sold for at least 4 times more than I bought it. So, and this is, I think it's logical to be a nonconformist. If you do the same thing as everyone else, you will get the same as everyone else. You can't become rich or 100 million if you do the same thing as everyone else. I think it's logical. So being nonconformist, very important also.
Now, number 4 is take ownership on your failure. It's never blame others or the world, no? Which is quite typical. No?
A lot of people, every loser does it, was bad at school, okay, my teacher didn't like me, didn't make a career in his company, my boss didn't like me, he knows everything about the mistakes of the company, or if he didn't pass through the driver license, the teacher was also bad. It is always the others, or it's capitalism or racism or sexism or the parents or whoever. Losers always blame other people. They don't take responsibility for their own life. And on the first glance, maybe it makes life easier. I remember when my sister, she was this kind when she was young, and she hit her against the table. She had bad table, but it wasn't the table's fault. And successful people, this was also one result of my interviews with these rich people, they take responsibility for their success, but also for their failure, also for their setback. And even it is true for countries. My next film, I produce also some films about Vietnam, and I wrote one of my last books about Vietnam and Poland. And I've been in Vietnam several times, and a lot of people don't know it, but in the 90s, Vietnam was the poorest country in the world, poorer than all African countries. They had not the war only with the United States, before that the war with France, then with Japan, with China, and what was not destroyed by the war was destroyed by their terrible planned economy. But in the end of the 80s, they saw something is wrong. All the other countries, they are South Korea, and so they become rich, Japan, and we are still so poor in spite of communists promised us how great it will be after the victory, but this didn't happen. And they could blame, of course, the Americans, but they love Americans. We know it with polls, and we know a few people, they love Americans. You have much more anti-Americanism in Germany and France, maybe also in Spain, than you have in Vietnam. They could blame them, but they didn't do it. They thought it was a crazy planned economy because this is what they could change. So they start with economic reforms, with private property, free market reforms. And at this time, the number of people living in poverty in Vietnam was 80%. Today it's 3%, from 80 to 3%. And so it's for individuals, it's for countries. Don't blame other people. And I had a meeting with the ambassador from Vietnam some month ago, and I told him, I admire you that you don't blame Americans or France or so. And he said, yes, but you have to know, we were in war with almost half of the members of the United States Security Council. If we would bet with everyone, it would bring us further.
And number 5 is focus. But you explained that focus for you is different. It's not saying always yes. It's saying many times no.
Yes, this is what I learned when I read these biographies about Steve Jobs. This is something that he said. A lot of people think focus is to say yes to some things. No, it means to say no to a lot of other opportunities that you have every day. I think it's the same. You publish books. If you would say to every author who sent you a book, a manuscript, I think this wouldn't be good way to be successful. So to be successful means to say no to a lot of things because, they will not work. And sometimes it's hard to say no because it is an opportunity and you could do it. But this time when you do this, you can't do another thing. And I read also this biography about Warren Buffett. Is one of the greatest investors in the United States. And in the biography I read, there was a dinner in the evening, Warren Buffett, and then Bill Gates, and the father of Bill Gates invited them. And he asked both of them, what do you think, what is the most important thing why you became successful? He asked both of them. At the same time, both of them are focus. For them it was crystal clear. They had not to think about it. It's focused and it's clear. It's the same. For example, if you do, I don't know, is there someone here who does something like martial arts, like karate or kung fu? Yes, for example, when I was young, I did karate something. Now, some months ago, I started with kung fu again. And if you punch, it's like this way. It's only there. It's focus. Yes, this is how you can even destroy bricks. But if you there, this is focus, and this is all about focus.
And we are getting to the two last ones. I think this is very important because I always thought this is maybe the best strategy. That is being honest. That what you say is that you need to be honest, mostly to win the trust of others.
Yes, Rockefeller was at his time the richest man and one of the richest in history, and they asked him, what is your secret of success? And he said, the secret is that I trusted other people and made other people trust or have confidence in me. This was the most important thing. And I think everyone who's in business knows it's all about other people trust you, your business partners, your clients, the bank maybe, your employees. People have to trust you. And this is so very important. And the question is, how can you win the trust of other people? There are different possibilities. Of course, if you're a great actor, even if you're dishonest, like Bernie Madoff, who fools with this, okay, then you don't have to be honest. If you're a great actor like him, you can fool other people and make a lot of money. But fortunately, most people are not great actors. You see it in their face if they lie. Everyone knows it. When you talk with someone, you don't know exactly why, but you see, I have a bad feeling with him. I don't believe him. It's your gut feeling, and it's because I spoke with someone who analyzed it. The reason is because the words, what you say is one thing, but there are hundreds of muscles in your face and your voice and how you look. And if there is a discrepancy between both of this, then people get this negative feeling. And so the easiest thing to convince people is if you're honest. And even if you if you sell something to people and you say everything is great and this, no. I saw people who were very successful, even they informed people about the negative side, because this belief. I wrote in Germany my autobiography about my life, and I wrote also about the mistakes that I made and about my failures. And why did people believe the other things? Because if I would write, I was always everything successful, everything great, no one would believe it, because you know that it's not true. And a lot of people think that being dishonest is very important to become rich. I commissioned a poll in 13 countries, also in Spain, and we had a list with personality traits, positive personality traits like being intelligent or industrious or honest, or negative like ruthless and a lot of negative, greedy. And we asked people, what do you think what applies to rich people? And the least mentioned personality trait in every country was being honest. I remember in Spain it was like only, I think 1% said honest. But then we did something different. We asked these people, do you know rich people in person who have at least $1 million? Do you know them? Then we asked them, and what is about this person? And then they were like, for example, I know the number in Germany, 3% said rich people are honest. But if you ask the people they know, it was 42%. So it's a kind of negative stereotype. It's a prejudice. It's what like leftist people tell you maybe. The rich people, they became only so rich because they fooled other people, because they are dishonest. And for some people, it sounds good, because if I'm not financially successful, oh yes, because I'm such an honest and moral, high-standing person, so I couldn't be. Even I prove it that I'm so honest that I'm poor. It's even the proof for this, but we know it's crazy. I think being honest or not has nothing to do whether you are rich or not. It's not this way, not in Germany, and I'm very convinced also in Spain that in this, where you have the most expensive villas and houses or mansions, that there are only shady, dishonest people, and then they're in this, with this displaced neighborhood or so, where you find a lot of, very bad neighborhood, that all these people are like holy and moral, high-standing people. No, you find it everywhere. Of course, you find rich people who are honest or not, but I think the easiest way to win the trust of other people is being honest, because then you don't have to be a good actor. Be honest to other people.
It's easier. The last one is, I think, if we think we start with the big goals, I mean high, but the last one is to be persistent. But not use what you say is not doing always the same. Try, but play. No?
Yeah, yes. You can read it in a lot of books about success. You have to be persistent. And they have the stories about people like Walt Disney or Steve Jobs or Elon Musk, who were very persistent, who didn't give up. And of course, it's true that persistence is important. But I know also people who are very persistent in doing things, but they never are rich, like a taxi driver who's very industrious and doing a lot, very persistent. But, if I go there now with persistence, always, to put here my head against the wall, I don't believe I will destroy the wall, only my head, even if I do it very persistent. No, I think the real secret is the combination of persistence on the one hand and the willingness to experiment on the other hand, to try several things. This is how people like, for example, Edison became successful. And it's also for a company. I don't know much about your company, but I think if you founded your company, I think maybe some things that you tried that did not work, and they do not work. We have to do some things were different. It was the same when I founded my company. I had some ideas, but after a year I saw a lot of these ideas were not really good, so I had to do it in a different way. And this is the same like if you go to the gym for example. You know, I can show you. I go now since 47 years to the gym. Yes, and I'm 67 years old, but still have good muscles. And I never took any steroids or something, never in my life. But why? Because always, you know, I combined this persistence. I go every week like 4 or 5 hours to the gym, maybe only for a half hour, but also with experiment, try to doing things in a different way. And this is the way how, you know, hopefully I have now better body than I believe most other people in my age. And this is because I combined I combined both of them.
I think Schwarzenegger may envy you, no?
No, he's still, no.
Now, I want to change a bit the topic, because there is something that we share with you, and not mainly in this book, but you have done a lot of work and a lot of effort trying to defend and to pray that wealth and being wealth and wealth for the societies is something good. And you were telling a bit before that many times people even try to avoid explaining that success, and it's easier to explain that being rich is because you have luck rather than other things. And I think you are committed on explaining that there are things that we are losing in this modern society that are going to be bad for the future. You defend the capitalism, you defend the free market, and also you have a book that is translated like Los ricos ante la opinión pública. For you, I think it's important to improve the view that the society has on that people that has been successful and is a bit above the average. You told me a story a bit when we were coming to the auditorium that is interesting. That is this idea of the dystopy that you are creating like as a new book, try to explain why mediocrity is something that society most of the times prefer. No? It's about
yes, of course. It's I don't want to. The secret of my next book was only for you.
No, it's a secret. Don't tell.
But yes, it's true. I you know, my last one of my last books in English, it's In Defense of Capitalism. I think in Spanish it's a little bit different title, Defense of Market. Yes. So. And it's published now in 30 countries all over the world, and I've been in most of these countries and to promote capitalism. But first of all, I think capitalism is not so important for rich people. It's much more important for poor people, because the strong people, they come along in almost every society, even in a very crazy society like Venezuela today. Even there are rich people who have a good life there, but for the poor people, and there are 80% now in Venezuela of very, very poor people. For them, capitalism is the only way to improve their life, and this is what a lot of people, they don't understand when they think capitalism is only for the rich people. No, it's much more important for poor people. They have no other alternative than capitalism, and there was not one single socialist society that improved the living conditions for poor people. But there are a lot of examples from capitalist societies, or societies that added more capitalism, that improved the life of people. And I think people understood it in the end of the 80s, after the collapse of the planned economy, of socialism, of the Soviet Union, and after they ended in China their crazy Mao Zedong ideas. And almost everywhere in the world, you know, I have here this T-shirt with Maggie Thatcher and Ronald Reagan, for example, and there were a lot of people who did economic reforms. And Deng Xiaoping in China also, yes, when he started with his economic reforms, 88% of people in China lived in extreme poverty. Today it's less than 1% because of free market reforms. And so I think today it's exactly the opposite. Almost everywhere in the world we go, as I see it, in the wrong direction. More state, less market. In China, with the Xi Jinping, they go back to more state, less market. They will have some problems. In Europe, with its crazy ideas from Brussels, every day we get some new crazy ideas, like the last one to ban the registration of combustion engines. What is, you know, we in Germany, we were proud of our Mercedes and BMW and Volkswagen. Now all these companies become big problems, and they have the plan next year. They have to pay a penalty of 15 billion euros to the European Union because they didn't fit to their idea. So and this is, I call this a planned economy, because what is the difference between a free market economy and a planned economy? In a free market economy, companies decide what to produce. But in the end, it's consumers' choice. You know, you decide when you use Amazon, you make Jeff Bezos rich, or if you use Google, you make Larry Page and Sergey Brin rich, and if you used Microsoft, you make Bill Gates rich, and so on. If not. And so in the end, and the contrast is in a planned economy, politicians and government officials, they decide what to produce. And if you think that politicians are the smartest people in the world, who are smarter than all entrepreneurs and all consumers, then you should be for socialism and for a planned economy. But I don't think that politicians are so much smarter than everyone else. And so I believe that we are on the wrong track. There are only a few examples. Like in Vietnam, they go more in the direction, more market, and I hope now in Argentina. And you know about Javier Milei, I think he was also here in Madrid and has his lectures. And I'm proud because he's also a fan of my books. I learned first about him 3 years ago when I read an interview with Milei in a newspaper, and I haven't heard his name, but then I saw with Google Alert, my name is mentioned, and they asked him, what are you doing this evening? I go home and read a book from Zitelmann, Capitalism is Not the Problem, but the Solution. But of course, in Spanish language, he read it, and from this day on, so this was the first I learned, and I hope he will have success. I was this year here, last year, and the year before, and it's the attitude that has to change, you know. The big problem in Argentina, but also in Germany, maybe also in your country, that a lot of people, they expect everything from the government. So they believe, I want to have everything for free from the government. But young people, and these are the people who support Milei, they started to understand it. And when I was there 3 years ago, I saw it. I tried to explain it. You know, this is I'm a scientist, I'm a scholar, I'm writing for like economic affairs and like the scientific journals, but I think I'm also able to explain sometimes things in a simple way, even that young people 20-year-old can understand it. And I remember, this is a little bit a funny story, maybe only for this question, what went wrong. I had there this lecture with maybe like 80 or 100 young people in Argentina. And then there was someone, here's no one looking not so handsome, there was a young man sitting in the first row, that's maybe there. He wasn't really handsome, so I thought maybe he has no girlfriend. And then I asked him, here, do you want to have really a beautiful girl? Do we have a girlfriend? I said, no, I don't have one. That's what I expected. And then I asked him, but would you love to have a really beautiful girlfriend? Oh yeah, he said. And then I asked him, but what do you expect who will bring you this beautiful girlfriend? The government? The state? And he laughed. No, I don't believe it. And then I asked him, but what do you think who's responsible to getting this beautiful girlfriend? He said, I think that's me. Yes, that's all. You don't have to know more about my philosophy, because this is not only with this girlfriend, it's with money, it's with everything else. Don't expect it from the government. It's on you. And so he understood it.
I want to do maybe the last question, because we have the cocktail upstairs. But there is a theme that is being in Spain, at least I think everywhere, a kind of an issue, that is all the things related to inheritance. You talk to this write about this in your book. And the thing is, the question is if it is right or is not right, and how has to be taxed. But what you explain is that the money that you inherit, you have to also run properly this money. The tool on the bad management is that you end up having no money. So there is a kind of a natural regulation on that. I recall a sentence that I think it was the title of a book written by an American in the last. At the end of the 19th century, that is a fool and his money don't last very much together, was the title of this book. So there is a kind of a challenge also for the money that is inherited. No?
Yes, this is what I mentioned before, that people who are not rich, they always underestimate how difficult it is to stay rich. Oh, I'm rich, so no, it's not easy. You see that most of the big fortunes, they've gone away. Of course, if it is very much, it can take a long time, but it's not as easy as people think. And I think this is a big problem. I would like that some of these famous soccer players, for example, that you have here in Spain, the best in the world. I don't know much about their finance, but I would imagine in a lot of cases it's very bad. So because I know it's in a lot of countries, because they focus, what I understand, all the time of their soccer training. But if they would maybe spend only 5% of this time to be reading books like this, for example, and or come here and listen to these topics. But they think, I have here someone, he does everything for me, I give it to the bank, or something like this. No, I think you have to take also responsibility for your own financial situation, because if you understand nothing, even you can't make a difference whether someone you want to work with to manage your funds, whether he's good or bad. If you don't understand nothing, you can't choose the right one. So I think it's financial education is very important, and this is the reason why I'm writing my books to give something to people. And I know there are some people that let him talk. I know everything, or I have my banker. He knows who knows everything, and I don't need it, or it's too complicated, or so. No, I don't think it. I think you should also have some knowledge. Maybe some people have fear because they think that there are in such books maybe complicated mathematical formulas, but you read it and I think you can confirm there's not a single mathematic formula, so don't be afraid. If you could understand what I explained this evening, you can 100% understand my book, because I think this is my ability, even if things are complicated, and some of these things are complicated, to explain it in a way that hopefully, even sometimes it's a little bit entertaining, but more important, that people can understand and get the message.
Well, Rainer, I think we cover more or less a good part of the book. I think
I don't hope so. Then no one will buy it. Don't tell it that you. There's a lot of things that we haven't mentioned.
No. This is what I was about to say. That the best part of the books are already hidden.
Yeah.
So you need to buy the book, and also to do another thing, that is to read the book. And we are going upstairs. You will have time maybe to sign some of the books. I want to have you here back as soon as possible, and we would like to greet you with a very big applause.
Thank you. Thank you.